Everyone. Hope I am audible. Right. If you face any issues listening to us, viewing our screen, please flag that and we'll kind of cater to it immediately. Right. My name is Abhinav. I'm part of the marketing team here at AVaali, and thank you all for joining in. This is going to be a very power-packed session that we have in store for you. The topic of the webinar is when your AI strategy underdelivers, look at the data you trusted, right? There's a lot of been chatter, a lot of talks around AI and how our organizations looking to use AI, right? The governance part of it, the implementation part of it, and all that talk or discussion will be in vain if the underlying data is not the data that you trust, right? Right. So that's the webinar about. Before kind of introducing our speakers for today, I'd like to walk you through the housekeeping item first. All lines are muted for clarity purpose. But should you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to utilize the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll try to answer those. Right? Yeah, the webinar is about 45 minutes, and we have, of course, AVaali here. AVaali team to present this, and of course, we have speaker from Prospecta, which is of course one of the largest OEM in the MDM space. So I've been joined by Ankur Jain, who heads solution engineering for multiple practices here in AVaali. That includes content management and includes master data management. And I've been joined by Deepak Chaudhary, who heads the pre-sales for Prospecta, right? So without any further ado, I'll quickly hand it over to Ankur to get us started. You want to share screen, Ankur? I'll just unshare.
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Sure, sure. Okay.
Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yes, go ahead. Okay, I think there is somebody who raised a hand. Yeah, go ahead, please. If you have anything, yeah, let us know. Not able to hear us or view the screen, let us know. Okay, we'll continue. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ankur, please.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Abhinav, for setting the context here. So as we discussed about what will be the AI strategy and delivers, look at the data you trusted, right? That's our agenda today. So before even we go into the details of master data management, right, what we have to look at today is there has been a big technological shift that has happened in like past couple of years, where all organizations have started looking into the AI investments, right? And there has been billions and dollars of investments that organizations are doing today into AI, generative AI, intelligent automations, and AI agents and predictive analysis, right? And these technologies are implemented across organization with an expectation that AI will improve their decision making, increase their productivity and operational efficiency, and also reduce costs, right? So that they can make a competitive advantage over all their competitions. However, with despite these many investment, as per Gartner, right, if you see, there are 85% of projects that fail, and they don't AI based projects fail, and they don't deliver the expected ROI or the return on investments, and neither the expected business value to the end enterprises. So why do AI projects usually fail, right? And whom should we really blame? Should we blame the technology? Should we blame the AI model, or do we, look at the implementation partner to be blamed, right? But in reality, it's not the case. When we do some analysis at our end, what we find that the issue is not in the AI itself. The issue lies at the quality, consistency, completeness, uniqueness, and trustworthiness of the data that we are providing to the AI, to run all the analysis on it. So before we jump on to discuss what master data management is and what is its relevance, we should first understand what data become, what is the criticality of data, and why data is always such a critical factor in any AI initiative that any organization is looking on, right? So one of the biggest misconceptions, that everyone has is that, AI will automatically fix all the data issues and data problems and, give all the results, but and help them do the decisions. But unfortunately, that's not the case. The AI understands and works and learns basically on the data that we feed, or the information that you feed to that AI model. And that information, if it's inaccurate, the results will be in that manner as well, right? So say for instance, if you have duplicate records in your system, right, where you have multiple supplier related information having 4 different names within your data, then obviously AI may pick up the wrong vendor information and supply to you, because it's learning from the conflicting information. Or there can be incompleteness in the data where, your BOM or your materials are not having, the completed attributes, and missing specification information or the unit of measures, and based on that the AI might hallucinate by filling any random data and causing, leading to incomplete or incorrect data results for you. The third critical challenge is around, data silos, where, in multiple organizations there are multiple, in organization there are multiple systems. You may have an ERP, you may have a CRM, you may have a warehouse management, a PLM system, or an enterprise content management system, and there will be, each system maintaining different masters data, and thereby you will not have a centralized or a central repository for all your data. That's where, the AI will again get conflicting or contradicting information, and lead to again different versions of source of truth, and giving incorrect or inaccurate results. The another challenge, and perhaps one of the most critical things, is apps, the weak governance, wherein there is lack of ownership of who owns the record, what is the governance policies around it, the quality standards that has to be maintained, who will own the actual record, who will approve the changes on the record, right, and who ensures that all these rules and governance are standards are followed. And if there is no proper governance, obviously your data will deteriorate and the quality of the data will go down, right? So and that's where, the AI will start creating problems from the data, rather than, providing solution out of the data to you. And the and that's where, the AI output that will be generated, your teams will not be able to trust whether that data is correct or inaccurate or not, and then eventually they may abandon the results from the uh, data that has the AI that has given them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions, please feel free to, as I said, ask. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. But yeah, do let us know. Yeah, just after about 10 minutes, when Ankur hands over to Deepak, we'll also, take a look at the look and feel of the solution itself. We'll look at the features of the Prospecta solution. So yeah, just that's what's in store. Yeah, go ahead, Ankur.
So let's first look at the, business impact, whether before even moving on to the technology part, right? What business impact we can see there, when you are having poor data and no proper data governance around it, that there is around nearly $12.9 million that you lose every year because of poor data quality and matrices, right, that exist in organizations, right? For example, if you have duplicate suppliers, you increase your procurement inefficiencies. If you have duplicate materials, your inventory costs may go up because you may not know which spare part to order or to replace or to perform maintenance, right? Similarly, if you have incorrect BOM, your production planning may go out haywire, right? So that's where the challenge becomes even bigger with your AI initiatives when introduced. And after, starting or working on your AI initiatives, and you start deploying your solutions, you figure out and find out that your data is incorrect, and you have and a lot of time and efforts get wasted because you have already deployed a solution but your data is incorrect and leading to a lot of cost because of the poor quality of data there. So then the question becomes imperative that should we fix the data first, or we move to the keep continuing deploying the AI on it. And that's where the trade-off and the issue comes to the organizations, right? So let's look at a bit more industrial agnostic aspects, right? So say for example in manufacturing domain, if you have inconsistent material master, right? For example, you're having duplicate different naming conventions, you're not having proper unit of measures defined, you don't define the product hierarchies or the classifications of the material, and now you try to introduce an AI system, try to do a forecasting on them, right? Now you may get an excess, it may still give you results like where you have a excess of inventory in sometimes, or you are stock out in other reasons, right? So your forecasting becomes really challenging here. Similarly in case of procurement, right? If you have duplicate supplier records, be it in your sourcing solutions like Ariba or your CRMs or your ERP, right? And then you try to do a spend analytics over your vendors or suppliers, again it will not be incorrect, it will not give you again the correct results, and that may flag some of the vendors who are compliant or non-compliant, and that way again risking your actual vendor selection, right? Similarly in finance, if you have your reporting may get delayed because if you have fragmented customer hierarchies, your AI collections are not properly routed, right? And that way it will again cost issues for you. In terms of asset management, if you if you're not your equipment masters are not maintained properly, right? It may lead that you may do a maintenance on some of the low priority equipments and not on the actual higher priority equipment that need maintenance, and thereby it might lead to your untimely stoppages and delays in your manufacturing, and again leading to revenue losses and disruptions. So how do we bridge this gap, right? So what the AI readiness gap here is, right? The most organizations, when they start building or moving towards any AI program, what they have an assumption that their data is good enough, right? And but when we have looked at organizations when they start their data AI initiatives, assuming that their data is very good, our analysis is quite different than that. What we typically find is their data is not clean, they have duplicate masters, they have incomplete data, they have duplicate suppliers, they are missing classifications on the masters, they're inconsistent bomb structure maintained. Apart from that, there are no standards of data that is maintained across different entities or plants, right? And then obviously there is no centralized governance to maintain or manage all these master records, right? And that's where and these challenges occur because when you do an ERP transformation, there are merger and acquisition happening, so and you do a global expansion, so all this merging and matching of data happens, and since you don't have single source of truth, again your data quality goes down. So that's where the challenge does not become how to implement it, the challenge becomes on the sustainability. So, and then the bigger question arises is that even if we clean the data today, how do we prevent it from becoming again garbage and poor again from now on, right? So that's where the master data management becomes critical, where even after fixing your current data, right, you need to maintain those correctness or fixations that you have done today for future. And master data management, so plays a critical role in achieving that, right? So what does good data or AI ready data actually means? right? So that you can trust your AI outputs. First is you need to have completeness in your data. That is, your data should be complete. All attributes should be populated, or should, and there should be no blank attributes which are critical for rendering any analytics on your data, so that there is no hallucination that the AI model does for your data on your data. Second is consistency, where you standardize all your data across your plants, your region, different regions and business units, having standard formats, naming conventions, taxonomies built in across the system. Then obviously the governance part becomes very critical, where you define clearly the ownership, who will own the data. You have proper approval flows for any creation or managing of any master data, and maintaining the audit trail of every data change that happens within the system, right? Fourth point being your current, that is, your data should always be current data, where you get the real time insights, and it has to be real time refreshed, and be available immediately, and not like to be loaded at some scheduled jobs from some legacy system. So that, and the fifth part is obviously connected, where you should have a centralized repository, where all your master data is stored as a centralized repository, and it has the golden record, and which is accessed across different platforms, be it your ERP, your CRM systems, or any other systems. So this is exactly what master data management is designed for. Master data management is just not simply any tool. It's basically, and not about managing data. It is about establishing governance, accountability, consistency, and a single source of truth of your data for your across your organization. So whenever an organization they begin their MDM journey, right, they typically look for capabilities such as have centralized master data management solution, having workflows built in to do the proper review and approval cycles, have governance frameworks, rules defined, and role-based access controls, maintain the quality standards to prevent any duplication, have data stewardships and ownership in the system, then be able to integrate with any enterprise applications, right? So these kind of capabilities in the solution helps you build a trusted foundation for your data, and help organizations take the more initiative for any of their AI automation and analytics, and obviously achieve operational efficiency. So the message that I would like everyone to take today is that AI is not good until the data behind is good. You need to have a good quality data that you can trust, that the AI can be fed in to generate insights, and that can be then used by your organization, and have your master data critically cleaned and managed, right? So till now we discussed the different challenges organization face, and why master data management has a strategic priority. Now the next question, obviously the logical question becomes, is how do we actually implement this governance and the data quality controls and data stewardships, and have trusted master data foundations, right? So to answer this, I will like to now hand over it to my to Deepak from Prospecta, who can now introduce you to the solution, Prospecta MDO, that will help you deliver end-to-end master data strategy for your organization. So
thanks, Ankur.
over to you,
Over to
Deepak.
Deepak.
Yeah, thanks, Ankur. Let me just quickly share my screen.
Yep, visible. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. So yeah, thanks Ankur for setting up the context. What the AVaali team has just now laid out is exactly the conversation that we are having with most of our enterprise customers that we have, right? So the AI projects are stalling not because of those AI models are wrong, but because the data feeding into those models are broken, right? So what they have defined is a very clear problem that we have in our hand. And maybe next 15 to 20 minutes, what I will try to show you is that how our solution is basically solving all of those problems, right? So MDO is what we call an AI-driven converged platform. So the word converge here matters because it means that we can cater to both analytical as well as operational MDM. So what does it mean is that you don't need to have a tool to discover the problems and then you need to have another tool to fix the problem, right? So MDO does it in the continuous loop, right? So let me just show you how. Now, what you see here is the full MDO architecture. So there are three things that I want to take away from this slide. So first, as you can see, the three operational layers, which is explore, remediate, and govern, right? So MDO doesn't just tell you where your data problems are, it fixes them, enforces rules so that they don't come back, right? That's the loop, I think, what AVaali was describing, and we kind of close that loop. Now, the second thing is, as you can see on the top is the Kai agent layer, which is sitting across those three operational layers that we have. So basically, these are our Kai agents, which we have deployed on top of our MDO solution. So we have request, enrich, steward, insight, and help. So these are five very purpose-built AI agents, each responsible for a specific job in master data cycle. And we will also go through all of this in more detail in my subsequent slides. And the third point is that, as you can see in the bottom, the integration layer, which is there, right? So MDO can connect to your SAP, non-SAP systems, ERP systems, your other cloud applications, to your data lakes and data warehouses like Snowflakes and Databricks, and also to your analytical platforms like Power BI and Tableau. What it can also do is that right now we are building capabilities to directly integrate it with the AI agents itself, like we have Claude, Copilot, and SAP Joule, which most of our customers have started using it. Right. So that's broadly the high-level architecture of the platform that we have. Now, how MDO is kind of helping in making the data AI ready, right? So AVaali talked about what AI ready data means. Now the MDOs, now what you see here is the 5-step pipeline across the top, right? So you can see ingest, clean, standardize, govern, and AI ready. So this is how every record enters in MDO and processed. So it doesn't matter whether it comes from an SAP or non-SAP system or from a spreadsheet or from API or from any other legacy system. By the time it exits MDO, it is trusted, complete, consistent, current, as Ankur was mentioning, and also governed, right? So these are exactly the 5 attributes that AVaali also defined, right? So at this, and this is not a one-time thing that we do. So this is something that runs continuously in your system, and it checks all of this and makes sure your data is of good quality and is always governed properly. Now, if you look at the examples below that are there, so I've just listed few examples around vendor masters, material assets, and customers. So for vendors, you can see the GST-based deduplication, the enrichment of tax IDs, the bank details, the workflow approvals that you have, right? So similarly, when it comes to material masters, you have your we have our AI-based classification, which is the UNSPC-based classification, and also our AI engine kind of helps you in enriching your parts as well. And then it can also detect those duplicates across plants. When it comes to asset, there is a natural language record creation which you can do it through Kai. There are real-time integrations with APM or any other CMMS system that we have. And when it comes to customer master, I think the key point is that there has to be a single golden record across your CRM and your ERP and other billing systems, right? So This is how MDO kind of makes the data AI ready. Now, this particular slide is what we are trying to show here is that there are three columns that are there, right? So how data arrives in MDO, what MDO does on that data, and how the data looks like when it goes out of MDO, right? So let's say, for example, if I go through the first one, which is vendor master, right? So what comes in is three records of, let's say, same Tata vendor name with different spellings. There are certain GST, information numbers which are missing. There are inconsistent bank formats. There are no approval, process in place. And what MDO does is that it can perform those fuzzy deduplication, merges those three records into a golden record. GST validation can be done against the governed, APIs, government registry APIs. Bank format can be normalized and verified, and there can be a proper governance workflow that can build in and can enforce the governance. And what comes out of MDO is a single trusted vendor master record in SAP, which is kind of audit ready for your further AI usage, right? So this is just one example that I showed you. Similarly, it cut across all the master data objects that I've shown you here. So the similar story plays out for materials as well, assets, and also your customer master data. Now, if I move on further, so uh, this particular slide talks about Kai. So Kai is our AI agent. So it's not just that we are, making the data AI ready, but we are also using a lot of AI within our platform just to make sure that we make the process more efficient. We make the life easier for the users, right? So that way, what I want to introduce you to is our AI agent, which we call it as Kai. So the diagram in the center is the MDO lifecycle, as I explained earlier, which is explore, remediate, and govern, right? So Kai sits across all of these stages. On the right, you can see the 5 agents that we have currently. So one is the request agent for guided data creation and modification. Then we have enrich agent for auto enrichment from trusted external sources. And then we have help agent for conversational assistant to the data stewards. And then there is a steward agent for automated governance rules and monitoring. And then there is an insight agent, which can give you a real-time data quality and SLA matrix. Right. So each of these agents are having very specific purpose. So they don't overlap. They don't try to do everything. So let me just walk you through each one of these one by one. Now, the first one is the request agent, right? So the request agent is basically, kind of a front door to MDO for every user in your organization. So whether it's a data steward who is sitting in the head office and, looking after data and creating reports, or it can be your field engineer who is working, remotely in a mining site who has never seen a SAP screen in his life, right? So the 5-step flow here, what we are trying to show is very important. So a user, what he can do is that he can come into MDO, he can just type something in plain English, right? It can go to Kai and it can just type anything in plain English. And what Kai will do is that it will interpret the intent, even if there are abbreviations or typo issues that are there in the input. It kinds of understand all of that, and it breaks the complex request into a structured task breakdown. So the user can then acknowledge that. So whatever that unstructured request that the user has created, he can then see that how Kai has interpreted it, and it can kind of acknowledge it. And then the MDO rule engine will validate each and every field, or it will do all the governance checks that it needs to do. And then the request enters into the governance workflow with full audit trail, right? One of the key feature that is there with this agent is the MOCR, which is the multi-object chain request. So what it does is that you can have multi-object request created with just a single prompt. So just to give you an example, let's say a maintenance engineer, can type in update the task list from the work orders and also the related bill of materials, just an example. So what Kai will do is that Kai reads the work orders and, kind of decomposes that into multiple master data governance changes and creation, what it has requested for, and then present them for acknowledgement and execute all of those requests in sequence. So basically, you just need to give a single prompt and Kai will create all of those requests for you. And the good part is that it has got a fine tuning feature as you can see here. So what it does is that every time a steward corrects an exception, so he makes some changes, he runs some exceptions on those requests, Kai will automatically learn all of that. So there is no code redeployment as such that is required. So it can learn all of that and the system can get smarter continuously. Right. So let me just show you a quick a video of it. So what you're seeing here is an MDO screen, right? So on the left hand side, you can see the Ask Kai option. So as soon as you go to Ask Kai, you will see the workflows that are available here. Now the user can select any workflow and then Kai will kind of understand that. You can also have these sort of sample prompts created. So let's say if there are certain requests that you are creating it on a daily basis, you can have these sample prompts and you can just change certain minor information and then just submit the request. Right. So let's say you want to create certain items, you want to change certain records. So you can submit all of that in natural language. And what it has done here is that Kai has interpreted, as I told, it has interpreted what we are trying to do. And if we acknowledge that, okay, whatever Kai has understood is correct, then it will go ahead and try to create the request. And if during the process, if it finds there are certain issues or gaps that are there in the request, then it will highlight all of that. User can fix all of that, and then they can go ahead and submit the request. Right. So that way it is taking away, all of that. And what you see here is the request itself. So the user can also view the request in a form manner, and then it will then trigger a workflow, which will then go to the next set of approvers who need to review and approve the records, right? So this way, the request can be created in a natural language format as well. So you don't have to, go to those complex, big SAP screens or your MDG screens or whatever different MDM solutions that we have. So we can get away with all of this by using these sort of agents, right? So if we move on, the next one is the enrich agent. So basically, the enrich agent solves a very specific problem, which is cataloging of new parts or new records, right? So when a procurement team creates a material in SAP today, so they typically, get a blank form and they will, fill everything manually. They will copy something from some other records. They will, let's say, do the classification, but then they will skip all the rest of the attributes that they want to fill because they are normally in a hurry to create the parts for procuring it, right? So that's how your catalog gets polluted with, let's say, your 7 part numbers for a same ball bearing, right? So what Kai Enrich agent can is the user can attach let's say a supplier quotation if he has, or a part data sheet, or a multi-page PDF regarding that part. So the agent will basically read all of that information from those documents. So it can extract the part numbers, descriptions, pricing related information, lead times, and other technical specification. And then it can classify the part first based on the USPSC or any corporate taxonomy that they are using it. And then it infers the missing value from the context. For example, let's say if a supplier has a .au domain, right? So it will understand that the supplier is from Australia. So it will automatically, convert the price field into Australian dollars. Similarly, let's say if you want to perform inline calculations, let's say in the quotation, the total price is given across 10 units, and you want to enter a unit price in a moving price average field. So it will automatically calculate that unit price, and it will fill in the information there. So that way it can extract the information from any of those documents. And what it can also do is that it can go to web and it can look up from there based on the supplier and the part number information that you provide. right? So it can verify the records. It can also flag whether those records are correct or not, so that those fictitious materials that you are creating in your catalog, those can be avoided, right? So that way, this enriched agent will basically help you in cataloging all of your material master data. Let me show you a quick video of that as well. So here, what you can see is that, let's say you create a spare part request. You can go ahead and attach a documentation. As I mentioned, it can be a quotation or any other document. So once you attach that and you provide the relevant part number information, then what it will do is that it will first classify the part. So you can click on this magic wand icon. It will first classify the part, and it will then enrich the part attributes based on the defined taxonomy. And then it will generate those auto descriptions for you. So as you can see here, it has classified the part as, let's say, a wall ball. And what you see at the bottom are all the technical attributes or the taxonomy attributes that it has identified from that document. So you can also change or select the values based on your input as well. So once you submit that, you can see the descriptions are getting automatically generated. So you don't have to, spend a lot of time in cataloging those parts, looking up to those documents, going into the web and searching for those attributes. All of that can be done in an automated fashion with this agent, right? So that's about the Kai enrich agent. Now the next one is the steward agent. So basically, steward agent operates inside the MDO data intelligence workbench. So DIW is one of our component that we have within the platform, which is data intelligence workbench. So which is where basically most of the data stewards are spending most of their time, right? So there are four things that this particular agent can do. So first is that it can perform Kai powered, stewardship. So let's say rather than a data steward manually reviewing all the records one by one, Kai agent can work along with them. So what it can do is that it can auto suggest the actions, it can flag those anomalies and and completely routine task. It can do it autonomously, right? So the steward can focus on the exceptions and not on the actual processing of all the records. So rest of the things, Kai will do it for them. And the second point is that the intelligent workflow automation. So the rule-driven automation routes records to the right steward. So the workflow automations can be built within the platform, and those exceptions can be, handled through a governed workflow process. The next one is the data quality scoring. So each organization, defines what completes means for their data. So MDO enforces those threshold, gives partial scores, refreshes those scores automatically in the back end. So you will have a live data quality. It's not that those monthly reports that you get at the end of the month, which are already outdated, right? So you always have a live data quality score that you get as part of, this steward agent. And the fourth point is the enrichment and the survivorship at scale. So whenever, let's say, any duplicates are found, the survivorship rules determines which record wins and which attributes to keep, right? So that way it becomes very easy for the data steward to take a decision that what attributes he wants to keep and what attributes he want to get away with, right? So I have a small video for that as well. So here you can see, let's say you select a record here. So here, if you go to this data management page, so here you can see already, kind of ran all the business rules in the backend. It has highlighted where are the issues and what you need to fix it. There are certain records which are automatically enriched. There are certain records which has failed because of certain missing information. And then you can go ahead in much more detail and start, fixing the data based on the suggestions that it provides. Right. So that way it will help you in fixing all of that information as well, based on the data quality. Right. The next one is the insight agent. So basically the insight agent, kind of extend the usage of AI to the business user as well. And it cannot be just restricted to data steward. So what it does is that you can ask any question to the Kai agent on your data. So anyone with a question about data quality, completeness, compliance, they can just type it in plain English, and three things will happen basically. So you can ask question about your data. You don't need to have you don't need to learn any SQL. You don't need to create any dashboards. So let's say, for example, a plant manager can ask how complete is my material master for this specific plant. Let's say 001 plant, right? So they can just type it in plain English and they will get the response. What it also does is that it get better context. So Kai doesn't just return numbers, it explains what they mean. So why do, let's say, 7% of the records have missing base unit? Which records are, let's say, causing the issue? So what's the impact in the downstream process? So it will also tell you what those issues are and why those issues are coming in, so that you can take all those informed decisions. And lastly, of course, you can always get the right AI signals. So rather than waiting for the monthly data quality report, Cry can proactively, surface those anomalies and enrichment gaps that are there in the data. So you can fix the problem before those failures occur, right? So that's about the Kai agent. So maybe I'll quickly show the video of that as well. So let's say you go to Kai, you go to a request, you ask a question, how many escape ball bearing records do I have? It will give all the answers. It can tell you where are the gaps, where are the missing things, where are the missing values or attributes that are there. And then you can, have that conversation in natural language, and it will give you all the insights on whatever data you are maintaining it within the platform, right? The next one is, so this is something which is very powerful. This is not something which is solving any business problem like how I showed earlier, those 4 or 5 agents that we have. But what we are also doing is that we are using Kai to do a lot of configurations for us as well, right? So that right now the biggest bottleneck with these enterprise customers are that they have a very huge dependency on the technical teams to write those business rules, right? So today, let's say if a data steward identifies a governance requirement, let's say they want to create a rule wherein it says that every vendor in India must have a valid GST number, otherwise, block the approval. So what they need to do today is that they need to go and raise an IT ticket, and then the developer will comes in, or a data steward will comes in, and then he will, kind of write those BPMN based, he will create those workflows. He will then test it. He will then deploy it, right? So that is basically, increases the cycle time and the friction, right? So with Kai, what they can do is that they can just type in, again, in a conversation plain English manner, they can just type in what rules they want to build in, right? Let's say, for example, in this case, a validation rule needs to be built in because they want to see that they want to make sure that the vendor in India should have a valid GST number. So a validation rule needs to be written. So Kai can write those business rules for you within the platform, and then you just need to attach those business rules to the defined workflows that you are using it. And then those business rules will start, acting in whenever you are creating or changing any request on the data, right? So let me just show you a glimpse of that as well. So let's say you go to the business rules section and you want to create a new business rule here. So DAX is something which is one of the most one of the complex rule types that we have, wherein you have to kind of do some sort of scripting that you need to write to achieve certain complex logics. So what it does is that it can create those DAXs for you. So you just need to write in plain English what exactly you want. So here you can see there will be a Kai icon. You can just type in the plain English what business rule you want to create. And then as and when you submit this, it will start creating those DAX scripts for you. So as you can see here, all the logic. So you don't need a technical expertise to basically, build these sort of complex rules. And what I'm showing you is the complex one. There are a lot of other business rule types wherein you don't need to do all of this as well. You can just simply, do it with few clicks itself, right? So let's say now that DAX, now the agent has written all the scripting for you, then you can go ahead and accept or reject it. and then those rules will get created. Right. So as you can see here, those rules are created, and then you can go ahead and accept the rule. Right. So that's pretty much about the different AI agents that we have, which is already live and our customers are already using it. What I want to touch upon in the end is a business case study that we have done it with BHP, which most of you might be knowing it. It's one of the biggest mining company on earth, right? So BHP had this very peculiar problem where, first of all, they had a very fragmented MDM landscape. So they were using some other systems for managing their MRO spare parts. They were using SAP Fury for managing their asset data. And most of their requests were coming in very unstructured manner. So they have like around thousands of field users or requesters who used to send all of these master data requests in a very unstructured manner. So what we did is, and what the issue that they were facing is, then it was taking a lot of manual effort to manually triage all of those requests and convert it into a proper SAP request format, right? So that way we have implemented our Kai request as well as our Kai enrich agent there. And what it is doing is, it is basically understanding all of those unstructured requests, and it is converting all of those unstructured requests into a SAP ready record, right? So it will understand what the user is requesting. It will structure it in a way that it is understandable, or it is in the right format, which is acceptable for SAP to create those requests. And additionally, for all of their material master data, since we have implemented the enrich agent in there, so all of the cataloging is also happening in an automated fashion. So whatever new parts that they are requesting in, all of those parts are getting cataloged through our AI agent. And what we are seeing in there is that they are getting more than 90% accuracy when it comes to material master automation. And for the assets which was in below teens earlier, they are now getting more than 60%, and it is improving day by day as in when we are processing more and more requests, it is kind of improving it on a daily basis, and we have already achieved 60 to 70% of the accuracy with the asset data request as well. Right, so that way they are kind of using the platform and its AI capabilities for their material as well as asset. And when I say asset, it's the complete asset hierarchy. It's not only the equipments, but their plans, items, tasks, bill of materials, all the related objects also, they are maintaining it with the help of the platform. Yeah, and as I said, Kai is already live in BHP, so all the unstructured requests are getting created and validated. All the MOCR requests are getting created, and then ultimately it is SAP ready master data, which is happening in real time, and it is then going to all the downstream systems that they have. With that said, I think I will close my session for now. So maybe we can take up any questions, Avinash, if we have anything in the chat.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Deepak. And yeah, thank you, Ankur, as well, for presenting your content. Yeah. Any questions? Hope this was all fruitful, time, value of your time. Any questions, any comments? Happy to kind of address those. Right, so we will share this presentation with you. And we try to present use cases. We try to do, features of the product as well as, case study. So if you want to have a detailed demo, we can definitely have one-on-one calls with you, with your extended teams. So feel free to reach out. Of course, we will drop the presentation with you and with our coordinates. So yeah, you can definitely reply.
Yep. Okay, then I think we can close the call. Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks,
then probably
everyone.
we
Thanks
can
for joining.
wind up. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
your time.
everyone.